Okay, so am I a purist when it comes to whole grains? Am I a true country? Oh, sorry. Am I a true crunchy mama? I am a true country mama, but am I a true crunchy mama? Okay. Do I never do any processed food, junk food, anything like that? Well, we're going to be talking about that on today Grains and Grit Extra Gritty podcast. This is the podcast of Grains and Grit YouTube channel where it is unedited, unscripted, unfiltered. It is me, my honest thoughts. Grab a cup of coffee, y'all, and let's sit down and chat like you were in my kitchen, okay, or at my dining room table. And you and I are having a wonderful conversation. So if you are cleaning your kitchen, baking something while listening to this, I love it because I do the same thing too. And it's like I have a friend with me while I work or go on a walk or work out or something. So, okay, we're going to talk about this because am I actually a purist? I teach all about the importance of real whole grains, eating the way that God intended us to eat, biblical foods. We should be eating the foods that God has given us to eat. So, does that mean that I never allow a Oreo cookie or potato chip to cross my lips? And this answer may surprise y'all a little bit. In essence, no, no, I'm not a purist. Okay. And there are many reasons for this. And I'm just going to be honest with y'all. Okay. Real life, honest. Again, I want to be open and honest with y'all and just real. So I'm a mama who homeschools my children. We have a little homestead here. I have a lot of children. Okay. We don't ever say how many. We keep our children very private, but just trust me, the van that I drive is one step under a bus. Okay. So, like, we are a large family, lots of kids here. And also, on top of that, my husband is a paraplegic. So, I'm his caretaker, and we get, all of that extra stuff as well with him being a wheelchair user, disabled. Oh, that's a whole other world. And if you know, you know. So it can be crazy around here, really busy. I also have, YouTube channel, podcast, running the business, all of this type of stuff. So busy. We are busy. Yeah. Wow. That exhausted me thinking about running through all that. And now I'm thinking of all the things that I need to do. Okay, focus. So am I a purist when it comes to my food? And honestly, the answer is no, especially now. I am trying to get better at this, but especially when my husband was shot and multiple times. If you don't know, yes, my husband was shot by our neighbor 5 times, March 2025. And it has been a crazy journey since then. So he was over a month in the hospital and then rehab and then like all this crazy adjustment. It's been insane. And now we're like a year and a half later. And I feel like I'm starting to maybe feel like we're figuring things out in our new norm, but even then he has chronic pain. We're navigating that. So yeah, I mean, it's just, we have a crazy life, y'all. It's insane. So as far as our food goes, yep, eating out sometimes happens, and unfortunately this past year it has happened way more than I want it to, just because necessity in life, just because of everything that happened with our lives. So yeah. And when we were eating out, I mean, I do try to, eat real things, but y'all, we have a large family, and yeah, sometimes Burger King and Wendy's is what we choose. Because we're needing to feed people. Okay. And that happens. But do I stress about it? No, because all the other times we are eating real food, real bread here at home. Now, in saying that, do I ever use store-bought flour or store-bought bread products? Yep, I do. Okay, but let me actually talk about this. And again, I will admit, like, this is a little hard for me to be completely honest about, but I need to be completely honest about it because I don't want to set y'all with the impression that I am some superhuman mom. I am not. Okay. I am failing on so many ways. And, and so you kind of learn, I have to let things slide a little bit. And I will say one area that I let slide is flour tortillas. Now, not all of them, but my husband really likes breakfast burritos, and he really likes things like quesadillas, and they're super simple. And frankly, he wants them every now and then, not all the time, but maybe like once a week or so. And he wants them with a store-bought flour burrito tortilla. Okay. And also, I have not perfected my freshly milled burrito sized tortillas where they're what he wants. Okay. Shoot me. That's probably a bad thing I should be saying. I should not be saying that anymore since my husband was shot. But um, you know, it is what it is. So yeah. And do I think my husband, with the everything that he's gone through, his chronic pain that he deals with, if that man wants a souped up breakfast burrito with a flour tortilla from the store, y'all, I'm gonna serve it to him, okay? And he's gonna love it. So I will say that is kind of the one major food that I still buy from the store, but I do not use it often. And that's mainly because, first of all, tortillas take longer to make. That is not, and for the amount that I need for my family, it's a lot. If it was only like one or two people, it wouldn't be not. So I need to figure out, I need to get my recipe perfected to where I can make wraps and breakfast burritos, like burrito type stuff with it. Like they're good, but not quite there yet where my husband has been sold and be like, yeah, I'll do that from now on. So it's mainly that. It's mainly because and I'm lazy. I just haven't done it to perfection and things like that. But I mean, I've got a really good tortilla recipe, but I haven't gotten it to where it's big enough for the burrito type stuff. So that's mainly on me, and also just a time thing. But we're not eating it all the time. And all the other times, like, we're eating real whole grains. And so for me, balance, it's all about balance. It balances out. Another one is actually pasta. And that's because now I do make my own pasta, and I have been starting to experiment and use my Philips pasta machine more, which is the actual extrusion pasta. And I've actually been surprised at actually how pretty good it is. So I'm still working on that. And that machine is wonderful to have, because basically the pasta that I buy is, I do like to only buy Italian pasta. So pasta that is from Italy, bronze cut die, like the best that you can get. Which, by the way, they sell that stuff at Aldi. And so the pricing is actually really good. So I do recommend that. If you have an Aldi, it's great. Publix also has it as well, but it's actually not as expensive as like you think it is. But so I do try to buy that. I try to buy the best pasta that I have. But y'all, I'm a busy mama, and sometimes I need a quick meal and bring out the store-bought pasta, okay? Because it's easy. They typically, it's just better. I know it's not typically whole grain, but I'm serving my bread with it. And I'm usually baking everything else from scratch. The marinara sauce, whatever it is, it's from scratch. And so it's okay. Like, I don't stress out about it, because again, balance. Okay. And I can't do everything. Now, I am wanting to get better at freezer meals, having things ready to go in my freezer that is like dump and go, because since my husband was shot, my life has gotten so much more busy, and I feel like my margins are so small. And so one of the main reasons why we've been eating out more is time. I run out of time in the day, or I'm just so tired or burnt out from everything. And so eating out sometimes happens. And again, a bit more. We are starting to like back off a lot. Or, we were constantly going to doctor's appointments for him, and everything like that. And so, yeah, but I'm trying to get better. One of the goals that I have for the rest of this year for me, like, as I'm going it's now July, and now I'm focused on like, okay, homeschool co-op is about to start. And I really would like to focus on building up my freezer to have good freezer meals. I keep hitting my mic. I'm sorry. Have good freezer meals. So that way, I've got good, healthy, nutritious meals ready to go. And I'm not having to rely on either like running out to the grocery store real quick. And by the grocery store for me out here in the country means gas station down the road that also has some groceries, because that's how far out in the country I live. Running out there for something or just making the same thing over and over again. So I'm trying to get better at that. I'm also wanting to start experiment with things that I still buy from the store. So things like pasta. Okay, how can I actually, I've been researching about the best way to freeze pasta. So maybe I can just do, take a few hours where I make a ton of pasta and then freeze it. So that way I have pasta that has been freshly milled, but yet still convenient enough for those quick meals on them. Because you make pasta by hand, it's a labor of love. It really is. Now the Philips machine makes it easier, but it's still like for so the Philips machine, it's a Philips 7000 pasta machine that I have, which is great, but it still takes using freshly milled, you still like have to let it sit for like 30 minutes. It's not something the directions say to do, but I found that that helps. Well, that's still 30 minutes where it has to sit. Okay, and then it extrudes the pasta, which takes some time, better than doing it by hand. But it's not like in 15 minutes I'm going to have a meal. That it's not like that. So so it's great. It's great, but not everyone has that machine. And so I want to start doing that, like, better freezer meals, better planning, especially things that I can make in advance, but predominantly like things like the pasta, already having some in the freezer. So it's ready to go. And then as far as their tortillas go, I mean, honestly, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be flat out honest. I'm not really concerned about that because my husband, again, it's mainly for my husband. And frankly, he likes a traditional breakfast burrito in a regular store-bought flour tortilla. And if he wants one of those once a week, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to stress out about it. Okay. It makes him happy. And, with the life that he lives now, I'm like, yeah, here, any bit of happiness that I can give you, here you go. He's at a good weight. Everything is fine. He has no health issues other than he's in chronic pain and he is, he's disabled. He can't, waist down. He cannot walk. He's a paraplegic, which, diet is not going to fix that, by the way. And, so as far as that, it's not like we have any health issues where we're coming. So if he wants a breakfast burrito once or twice a week, he's going to get a breakfast burrito and it's fine. So that's not a huge priority for me. Now, whenever I do my Mexican nights, I'm making those tortillas from scratch with the masa harina. I do that, which I guess that could technically be another one that I still buy, but not quite. And that is, I still get masa harina. So, okay, if you do not know this, so corn tortillas is not made with ground up corn flour. So you cannot take corn, mill it, you have corn flour, and then make corn tortillas. It's not going to work. It has to go through a process called nixtamalization. That is where the whole corn kernels is soaked in a calcium lime solution. And then like overnight, it is soaked into that. And then you really have to rinse it. You have to then grind it up in a corn grinder that can handle a wet grain because now you have a wet corn. And then that now produces a wetter dough. You still might need to add some water to it to create corn tortillas. It has to be nixtamalized because corn flour is just going to fall apart. So corn tortillas, I still buy the masa harina. So the masa harina is the dried form of the masa dough. So after the nixtamalization process, if you're doing it from home, you would then put the wet corn kernels into your corn grinder, grind it up, and it's like in this thicker paste. Well, they then take that a step further where they then dry that out. And now it's made in, think like instant masa, kind of, that's now dried out. So now you just need to add some water in order to make the masa dough to make corn tortillas. So yes, I still buy the masa flour to make corn tortillas, then actually nixtamalize the corn myself, because that is a huge amount of labor of love. And it is a corn, it is not a wheat. So as far as the nutritional value, there's still high nutritional value in masa harina that has already been ground. And I get mine from Hacienda, which is heirloom organic corn straight from the heart of Mexico. And it's the best you will ever have in your life. It tastes amazing. If you don't like corn tortillas, it's because they're store-bought and those are garbage. They taste horrible. They are for nothing except frying up for tortilla chips. Okay. Real corn tortillas that you make from scratch with the good masa is divine and amazing. So I still will make that from scratch. But I do buy the masa because it is faster. And again, that's not my main grain. I still have a lot of wheat that is freshly milled. So again, balance. It's where I still have a whole grain flour. This is different. This is not like flour you buy from the store where they have stripped the nutrients from it. That's not the same with masa harina. Masa harina is the same amount of nutrients, everything like that. Whenever I'm getting it, it is freshly made as much as possible. And then I'm using it pretty quickly. So I still have a lot of the nutrients in it. Nothing has been taken out. Okay, if that makes sense. So, but I guess that would technically be one that I'm still kind of buying. But again, I do not have time to nixtamalize my corn. If that was my main grain, I probably would, but it's not. So I cut that corner, but yet not really, because I'm buying a very good masa, very nutrient dense. And again, with the Mexican food, I am getting so many nutrients from like the beans. I use brown rice instead of white rice. We have the salsas that I make from scratch. Okay. I make my own salsas, all of that. So like I'm getting nutrition in like so many ways. I'm not going to sweat about not nixtamalizing my own corn. Okay. It's fine. And so I say all this to kind of encourage y'all. No, I'm not a crunchy mom. You do not have to be a purist in order to get the benefits. Okay. If all you are doing right now is milling your wheat and baking just your sandwich bread, you're doing that's a good thing to do. I do encourage y'all to actually just completely swap out your flour for freshly milled. Okay. And make your bread, make your muffins, your pancakes, your waffles, cornbread. When you do gravies, just use freshly milled flour. And that's a lot right there. I do not make my own crackers, but we also are not really consuming crackers a lot. So if I'm doing crackers, it's like, it's a New Year's Eve thing. And we kind of are bringing out, the charcuterie board type stuff. And I'm not making my own crackers. And so, but, that's a special occasion and it's fun. My kids, we don't have food allergies in my house. We don't have people sensitive to gluten. I don't have to be a purist. I would if I had health issues, cancer, things like that. There are times where you got to be a purist because you're trying to heal. But for us, that's not the case. And so sometimes we do have fun. This allows me to not stress out if we go to someone's house, and they are serving us white bread. And it's kind of funny. I have to tell you a funny story. So I literally have my friends apologize to me because we'll go to the house. They've invited this large family over to their house. They are feeding us. Okay. And then they feel the need to apologize because it's not freshly milled bread. And I'm like, girl, it's totally fine. Like, thank you for feeding us. And that's the attitude that we should have. It really, it is horrible manners. Okay. I'm a Southern woman, y'all. And if someone came over to my house and was like, oh, well, I don't eat that because, it's not gluten free or whatever. Now, it's one thing if you have a health issue, but just to kind of, make people like, I'm of the mentality, like if it's placed in front of you, be thankful for it. Okay. Thank you so much for preparing this food. It's delicious. Even if you hated it, you keep your mouth shut and you eat it and you're grateful for the people who served it to you. Like that's just my mentality. And as Christians, that is a hospitality mentality that we should have. I mean, Paul talks about this. Whatever is placed before you, eat it with thankfulness. Okay. And we're going, if we serve people, they're serving us, they've made us food. I'm not going to stress about it. If we go to the church fellowship and my kids, they grab a white roll or, the hamburger bun because they're doing sloppy joes or whatever, I'm not going to stress out about it. Okay. Because the rest of the time that we're home, they're eating very good food. My kids are healthy. They are fine. Again, if they had an health issue, an allergy, I'm not talking about that. Okay. But I'm just talking about normal kids. And I'm not going to stress that like nothing that is not homemade will never cross your lips. No, I'm not going to do that because that's not a life worth living. And it's all about balance. Okay. It's all about balance. And, so yeah, so that's what I encourage you, especially, people don't hurt hospitality or fellowship because you were so stressed about food going into your body. As the Bible says, as Jesus himself said, that it's not what goes into a man that corrupts him, but what comes out of his heart. It's what's in someone's heart that is ultimately corrupting, not what is going in, not are you washing your hands or not, that's not it. That's not what actually corrupts a human being. And that's something that Jesus himself said. So again, I do think that we should be consuming real food God's way. If you are eating out all the time, that is not good. If the majority of the time you're eating ultra processed food, that is not good. Okay. You are going to get sick. You are going to have health issues, things like that. But I'm saying this to encourage y'all that if the minority time is sometimes, your kids go to homeschool co-op and they're passing around pretzels. That's That's fine. They want to bring cupcakes to school to the co-op because it's someone's birthday. Great, fine. Happy birthday. And I'm so excited. Like, you're such a big boy, a big girl, or whatever, and they can enjoy it. And they can, and again, I know that people are sensitive to like allergies and stuff. Again, sickness stuff aside, health issues aside, I'm talking about normal, regular, run of the mill stuff. Um, but yeah, even for me, I'm not a purist and I'm not a crunchy mom. I still use Tide washing machine detergent to wash my kids' clothes. Okay. I will still use a chemical product in my bathroom to clean that toilet. I have not even switched to like natural stuff. I do want to be more natural with that. Like I understand. I know the science and stuff. Okay. But I'm not going to stress out so much about it because ultimately I understand that we live in a fallen world. We live in a toxic world and I can do what I can. But stressing out about it is not going to help anyone. Stress is a killer as well. And I'm not going to want to break relationships about it. And so that's really what I'm getting at. So I want to encourage y'all, do what you can. And even if right now, again, all that you're doing is switching from white rice to brown rice. That is an excellent change. Keep going because it's all of these little changes that happen. Eventually, 90 days from now, a year from now, you're going to look back and be like, wow, look at how far I have come. Because it really starts with those little changes. So switch from white rice to brown rice. Okay. Start doing more beans in your diet. Start, and these are things that you can do without a grain mill. Start, ultimately getting your grain mill, milling your wheat, and if all you do is just, I'm just going to have cream of wheat in the mornings with freshly milled wheat. Excellent. Okay. I'm going to start, having oatmeal with, good whole grain oats. I'm going to start baking bread. I'm going to make muffins, and then you start with these little steps and keep going. And then eventually, you're going to look back and be like, wow, I don't even buy flour from the store anymore. I don't need it. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully this was encouraging to y'all, but I did want to answer that question because I think I have gotten asked before, like, do you buy all of your bread products from the store? And the answer is no. Those are the only two exceptions in my life right now is flour tortillas on occasion. Okay. And pasta. And that's it. And even when I'm doing pasta, it is being served with freshly milled bread. So everything else we make, we know our main bread, muffins, pancakes, waffles, it is with freshly milled flour. And so we're getting a ton of that. So yeah, my kids are healthy. My family is healthy. We're doing pretty good. And I'm just going to keep improving, keep doing better, strive to do better, but I don't stress about it. So hopefully this was an encouragement to y'all. And I hope that y'all have a wonderful day. Comment below. I'd love to know your thoughts. Is there anything? What have you changed? What would you like to change as far as foods go? Anything, just let us know. And y'all have a wonderful week. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.